In this video I thought we'd look at some nice pretty lines again. Just getting used to the RTA graph, which I'm not running sweeps, I'm just running pink noise, but I'm measuring it via the RTA screen, which is going to display it at a 3 dB per octave fall off. So I have the reference digital pink noise line just out of the way. As you can see, maybe we're just a little bit hot in the 8-inch, because the top line of all these little groups is the nearest to the nearest of the speakers that I could get to. So in case of the tweeter and the 6-inch, that's like 3 inches in front, because I have the pod sort of shroud in the way. And this so the 8-inch is actually about 3 inches closer, because this is almost touching the grill. So that could account for that extra little bit of rise. And I'm going to have to develop a system to maybe measure the first one here at 3 inches. So that I'll just make a note to self. And in the subwoofer, I'm holding that mic at the top of the back seats, which is the closest I could get to the woofer without opening the back seats, because I do actually have a little gap, air gap at the top of the seats to reference that level. So that's another thing. I might be able to turn that up in my overall global tune. Maybe turn this down once I do another blend. But I'm just pretty happy with this group of measurements, because it's also describing the journey to main listening position if you look down each slice. So this represents about 6 measuring positions of quasi-moving mic techniques. Maybe in a group of about 4 inches, I'd move the mic like this in this, and then I'd move it back, move it around like this, and then move it back like this. So we have the tweeter. You can see there's a trend, maybe only a slight tilt down, but hardly anything. And then you can see it gets a bit more wobbly at the end of its travel at the MLP, and maybe a trend of this little hollow coming out there, whereas it's basically flat because it's tuned flat at the Nearfield. So here again with the 2.5 inch, tuned flat at the Nearfield, and maybe trending less in the high end by the time you get to MLP. And then a lot of these cancellations of the room influence. So if you can just not look at this, but then look at this, that's a 2.5 inch. So as you can see, as you get more towards the MLP, it's only in that last 12 inches that this really big cancellation starts to happen at, say, 1.6 and a little boost. It might just be a non-boost that might have just been holding the whole time at 2K. So you might say that the traditional way of tuning is people boost for the MLP, that 1.6K, and maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I like the tune we've got at the moment. I'm always open to new ideas. That's why I'm doing discovery with this way of plotting my journey. So here's a 6-inch at Nearfield. Then moving back every 3 or 4 inches. And as you can see, some cancellations coming in here and then moving. So it sort of started as a little bump here at, say, 220, and then it turned into like a 280 in the broader 200s, and then maybe a non-cancellation or a reinforcement here in the 400. But you see, these are all on long exponential timing, so they're sort of half blended with the one before them, and that's another thing I can. But in a way, I've created a more general average of its journey to the MLP. So in the traditional tune, people might be turning up, 260, hot, and getting too much overbearing in that mid bass, and they might be jacking up their, 600-700s to try and find that drop that's happened in both the high mid there and the mid. And then here in the 8-inch, I've got the Nearfield, and then travelling further back, you can see it's holding pretty true for a while, and then there's a trend of a drop in about the 70, and this is the nulls that people get in different size cars. You'll have a different spot for that null. So I've heard all sorts of music at beyond like believable levels, because I've lots of dynamic range in this car, and nothing is making my 8 inches struggle. There's not hitting X-Max. I've tuned to the Nearfield, and even though it shows a deficiency in the MLP, I struggle to find any deficiencies in the smoothness of the bass response. And it's probably the best I've ever had to deal with the whole bass area of this system. It's just by going with the instinct to hold that near-field tuning methodology, and just make sure that your idealistic crossovers sum well, and you have a decent timing where you're not getting too much cancellations just due to phase. And here's the subwoofer level now. Nearfield and main listening, they all seem to be the same, and that's seems to be the word on the street as far as near-field techniques like magic beans and things like that goes. But I was also imagining that this transition between bass being the same for the whole system up to, including this area, up to around 200 and 300. But no, there's a lot of variations here. And it's only when you really get down to these below 40 that there's barely any difference between main listening and Nearfield. I think I could have said that better, but yeah, there is basically subwoofer setting in Magic Beans where you don't even bother with the Nearfield, you just stick it in the main listening. So I guess that's an economical time saver for that system. Yeah, so there we go, there's your pretty graphs. This is just the noise floor of all of the things, and this little anomaly is probably just bumping the mic for that one time during that one. And I even thought for a minute that some of these bumps were cars driving past outside my house just down the road, probably 40 metres, 50 metres, there's a road. Yeah, so here we are. I'm just going to take this in, I might redo the 8s at 3 inches and delete that first one. And then the only thing I'm going to do is maybe just add 1.5 to, 2, and then drop that one if it needs it. And then definitely maybe turn up the sub 2, and then see how that sounds.